What's up, nerds? Welcome to the Booklight YouTube edition. If you don't know me, if you're just now discovering me, hello, hi, my name is Caroline. I am a writer and artist that mostly writes poetry, and that is exactly what I will be discussing here on this channel. If you know me from TikTok, from my TikTok account, The Booklight, hello, hi, thank you, I love you. You're the best. Welcome to my YouTube page. This is where I will be reading books of poetry, like I said, and just discussing them a little bit, talking about some of my favorite poems, prompts, and doing a little analyzing. A lot of people that I know, okay, well, not a lot of people that I know, scratch that. Some people that I know, some of my friends, people I work with, they want to know a little bit more about the writer's mind, like what does it look like in action? So I kind of just wanted to show that and explore with you all a little bit the world that is poetry and literature, and kind of show my technique and my thinking when I'm reading and analyzing. Some people are wanting to know more about poetry, so I'm hoping to bring more people to the poetry side with this channel. So, without further ado, let's start the first video. My first book in question is Cut the Lights by Micaela Walley. Cut the Lights was just published last year in 2022. This is what it looks like. It's very pretty. Quick flip through, you'll see that last page, first page is black. First couple actually in the beginning are black. Cute little signature, ordered right from her website. Gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. It did get darker. You're not crazy. I moved the lamp up so I just poked myself in the eye. So I could wear my glasses and not have the light reflect so bad off my glasses. Anyway, a couple words from yours truly about the book. Micaela writes with conviction as she brings us into and through the vortex that is grief, heartbreak, and healing. Her voice is refreshing, youthful. It is becoming its own sun. It, the voice, is aware of or receptive to the input from the external on how to move forward. And that is reflected in these lines of celebration, remembrance, and reconciliation. As far as my favorite poems go, I had quite a list. Not in any particular order, just in numerical. Okay, well, I guess that's a contradiction. But anyway, in numerical order, so not in order of liking them. It's important to remember. I have The Vulture Speaks, Earl, I Would Tell You How to Hold Your Grief, or I won't tell you how to hold your grief. Doing My Best, Companion, I Hope Wherever You Go, You Do Cartwheels, Why Are You So Upset, May, The Average Person, and Wedding Day. Some of these poems are linked to Micaela's website, which I'll put in the description. Please check it out. She's got all kinds of poems. I think some in their early forms, perhaps, when they had gotten published before they were put into her book. Go read them, check it out. Check out her Instagram, her cat, Chunky. I hope I got the cat's name right. Adorable little thing. I'm going to show you a couple poems now. Probably just two. I'm thinking The Vulture Speaks and Companion. All right, this is The Vulture Speaks on page 12 of Cut the Lights. Already you'll see that I've got things underlined, marked. I have a date. This is the date that I read it. So I read it the 17th of May of last year. I actually did not finish this book till January 3rd. I don't read books all the way through at once anymore. I left that back in my college days. I like to read the book at my pace. I like to chew on it. I like to think on it. I just need that time and space to really hang out with it. So I will go ahead and explain myself a little bit. For every poem that I read, I will read it twice. And then, because this is not the first time I'm reading or seeing this poem, I will most likely underline things, perhaps, and explain, some of the things and talk about, like, I'll just show you in the video. Well, later. Anyway, The Vulture Speaks. In flight, I plunge. Devoid of normal feathers, more like fuzzy scales, I am not a serpent, not a monster. I don't give a shit about your life or how you lived it. Angel wings coated in onyx and obsidian. Whoever God is waits for me. My kindness is chewing bones no one wants. Bald-headed, piss running down our legs, my crew, clean as you are. We want whatever you've got left and then some. We hunch over, we throw up, we keep going, feed our bile to the next baby. I don't regret one bite. Where there is a road, I am somewhere sitting beside it. Where there is death, I lean in. All right, one more time. And I will say that when I read the poem, sometimes I won't read it the same way. So listen close. The Vulture Speaks. In flight, I plunge. Devoid of normal feathers, more like fuzzy scales. I am not a serpent, not a monster. I don't give a shit about your life or how you lived it. Angel wings coated in onyx and obsidian. Whoever God is waits for me. My kindness is chewing, bones no one wants, bald-headed, piss running down our legs. My crew, clean as you are. We want whatever you've got left and then some. We hunch over, we throw up. We keep going, feed our bile to the next baby. I don't regret one bite. Where there is a road, I am somewhere sitting beside it. Where there is death, I lean in. So you'll notice that in the second reading, I read more to the spacing. Versus punctuation. In the first reading, I read more to the punctuation, stopping at, periods, commas. That looks like the only punctuation we've got here. That doesn't really count. That doesn't interfere with the sentence, really. I also want you to notice with these line breaks, like the breaks, okay, not line breaks, but the spacing within the line. I want you to notice that, mostly because I feel like people think that they aren't allowed to do stuff with this. First things first, I need y'all to kind of throw out whatever you've learned about poetry. And I'm asking you to do this if you feel locked out when it comes to it. Because like I said, some people feel like they can't do stuff like this. The only person not giving you permission is yourself. It's yourself. So jot that down. So here the speaker, Micaela, is a vulture. I want you all to have the image of a vulture in your mind. This is what it's saying. In flight, I plunge. It doesn't have normal feathers. It's got scales, but it's not a serpent. It's not a snake of any kind. Not a monster. This is what I really love about second plus reads of poems, is because I just sink further and further into it. I lean in. Yes. This poem is really meta. It's so zoomed out. But at the same time, I feel closer and closer to whatever this thing is that the vulture is speaking about. I think I'm actually going to read it again, but not in a normal way that I would. In flight, I plunge, devoid of normal feathers, more like fuzzy scales. I am not a serpent, not a monster. I don't give a shit about your life or how you lived it. Angel wings coated in onyx and obsidian. Whoever God is, waits for me. My kindness is chewing bones no one wants. Bald-headed, piss running down our legs. My crew, clean as you are. We want whatever you've got left, and then some. We hunch over, we throw up, we keep going. Feed our bile to the next baby. I don't regret one bite. Where there is a road, I am somewhere, sitting beside it. Where there is death, I lean in. The vulture speaks. We're getting a bird's eye view of this thing. What's really messing me up right now is that I can't say what it is that I'm feeling, I guess. What good does it do sometimes to be a writer and not be able to name the thing? That is my whole life crisis right there, folks. What's interesting right now is that she is the bird and we are the bird. You know, we're getting this view of life zoomed out, but zoomed in at the same time. It's life and death and the space in between. I feel like that's where this poem is in between the doorway. Where there is a road, I am somewhere, sitting beside it. Where there is death, I lean in. I lean in. Where there is death, I lean in. I don't regret one bite. Send me. Let's talk about some other things about this poem, and maybe my subconscious will quickly find the words. So let's talk about what the poem looks like physically. It's 2 lines, couplets, right? We're going back to school here, y'all. Couplets. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 stanzas. So that's 18 lines total. That has no significance. I don't believe either that or I missed something in school. Let me go back to the sentence spacing. I think sometimes when we're writing, we don't fully realize how much the breath is involved in the writing and of the speaking, right? Because when you're writing, you're saying it in your head. There are natural pauses in the voice in your head when writing and even reading poetry. Some of you might be like, what the hell are you talking about, Caroline? You are nuts. I assure you that I am not nuts. Only a little. Think about it. Imagine if these, we'll call them lines. Imagine that these lines didn't have these spaces within them. We would just keep on reading right through, right? And with these line spaces within the lines, it kind of directs the breath, when to stop and start, when to pause. Think about that. We're gonna start because a prompt is gonna come from spacing. There is one thing that's actually coming to mind right now that is actually surprising. So, the vulture, right? Vultures eat, you know, what's on the side of the road, what's on the road, what's off the road. It's eating the dead things. It's regurgitating it to the next. Recycle. Cyclical. Cycles. Generation. /S. Generational, generations. We keep going. I don't regret one bite. Where there is a road, I am somewhere sitting beside it. It's going to keep going. My kindness is chewing bones no one wants. This is the line that made me think of sin eaters. So a sin eater, gosh, what time period are they from? The Middle Ages? I don't know. Anyway, sin eaters were called upon once someone died and a piece of food would be left on the dead body. And it is said that this piece of food would absorb the sins and the wrongdoings of this dead person. And this sin eater, who is usually like the village outcast, pretty much, they would, and this, mind you, this person has powers, you know, they have gifts, which naturally created them an outcast. So the sin eater would eat this food and basically absorb or absolve this person's sins, the dead person's sins, and they could then go to heaven. There's this wisdom about the lines, about what the vulture is saying. It says, I don't give a shit about your life. or how you lived it. Angel wings coated in onyx and obsidian. Whoever God is waits for me. This goes back to that meta vision, that zoomed out point of view of the world that we're dropped into here. My crew, clean as you are, we want whatever you've got left and then some. There's so much here in this poem. This is a really wonderful poem. It's possible that we could have 2 prompts come from this. One being spacing, the other involving embodying an animal of sort. Something that isn't human. To me, I also hear trauma way off in the distance. I mean, it's kind of mirroring that, you know? Even before trauma, you know, just literally taking what's in the poem. My kindness is chewing bones no one wants. We want whatever you've got left and then some. It's taking in this death. It's taking in the death, the dirty, the decaying, the rot, the hurt, the pain. It's getting rid of it. We keep going, feed our bile to the next baby. So when it can't hold what it's absorbed, it expels it to the new. If you haven't read this book, I highly suggest you do. This analysis will make a lot of more sense once you get this book and read it, because it really touches on familial relationships, incurred trauma, and it would really give you a more expanded view, more expanded thinking on this poem. Okay, well, that does it for this poem. I could keep going, but I would like to move on to the next poem. Very quickly, before the next poem, let us take a snack break. I like rice cakes. And for your ASMR pleasure. Alright, we are back from snack break. And as you can see, or maybe see, I don't know, I, embarrassingly enough, only have made 2 marks on this whole page other than the date. The date doesn't count. Let's go ahead and give this a couple of reads. Companion. What's left of the lavender brittles against December, and the coffee cools in my cup before even reaching the chap of my lips. The cat looks out the window with expectations unmet. No snow flurries to chase with his mind. No sign of a God worth praising. It's hard not to reach out and block his visions like a mother might shield her child from the movie's worst monster. There is nothing scarier than a lonely winter. No justification for being asked to become your own son. The cat curls his whole body into a corner, and I settle in for a day like the one before. Together, we confess our strengths and weaknesses. We prepare our bodies for whatever comes next. So off the bat, I'm gonna put a heart because we love cats. Cats. One more time. Companion. What's left of the lavender brittles against December, and the coffee cools in my cup before even reaching the chap of my lips. The cat looks out the window with expectations unmet. No snow flurries to chase with his mind. No sign of a God worth praising. It's hard not to reach out and block his visions like a mother might shield her child from the movie's worst monster. There is nothing scarier than a lonely winter. No justification for being asked to become your own son. The cat curls his whole body into a corner, and I settle in for a day like the one before. Together, we confess our strengths as weaknesses. We prepare our bodies for whatever comes next. We confess our strengths as weaknesses. I think before, in my first read, I said and. We confess our strengths as weaknesses. Wow. And I have a whole master's degree. I'm sorry, y'all. If you can't handle someone roasting themselves, this is not the channel for you, because I'm probably going to do a lot of that. Anyways, back to poetry. We prepare our bodies for whatever comes next. Together. You know, and sometimes when I'm annotating or analyzing poetry, I don't always write about the actual poem itself. Rather, I'm writing about what the poem is bringing up for me. So here I'm just writing acceptance equal change. And that's also something I really love about poetry, is that it's not just words on a page, right? You know, poetry does elicit these things from us, these feelings, these thoughts, ideas. Poetry in literature has the power to bring a person to change by triggering a chain of events within your mind. I really love this line. Oops, I totally wrote on the wall. What's left of the lavender brittles against December? Love that. The coffee cools in my cup before even reaching the chap of my lips. Cat. The cat looks out the window. I'm sorry, that's just a really important image here, with expectations unmet. Companion. Keep that in mind. Right now, I'm reading Ross Gay's Inciting Joy. It's a collection of essays. And this whole poem feels like what he discusses in the first chapter, which is how we as people can and should get together and discuss what he calls sorrows. So things that have happened to us, things that are happening in our lives, you know, other people has been through it. And what I've gathered is that, you know, when we come together with others about our sorrows, there is bound to be joy. There is bound to be joy. And here we have this, what is an intimate moment with her companion, her beloved cat. You know, I've had dogs over the years. I've had cats over the years. I currently have 4 dogs, 1 cat, and I used to have a cat before the cat I have now. My neighbor and I kind of like swapped cats. I see my old cat from time to time, but before we swapped cats, and I really didn't want to swap. It just kind of happened. And whatever. Story for another time. And basically, before we swapped cats, me and that cat, his name is Simba, he's still alive. We had a really great bond. I loved that cat. That cat was my best friend. That cat was my best friend. And like, this is a moment from that friendship, not mine and Simba's, but, you know, between Micaela, the speaker, and her cat. And I think what I really love about this line is that we get this potential for the cat's feelings. And this bonding between the cat and the speaker over what could be translated as sorrows, perhaps not. No sign of a God worth praising. Sometimes I just put little hearts by lines I really like. It's hard not to reach out and block his visions. God, why? Y'all, I am 27 and I literally cannot underline stuff without writing through the whole damn line. Okay, let's try this again. It's hard not to reach out and block his visions like a mother might shield her child from the movie's worst monster. There is nothing scarier than a lonely winter. No justification for being asked to become your own son. Wow. This is, you know, these 2 stanzas, we're getting some foreshadowing here, you know? She doesn't want him to see this becoming your own son. There is nothing scarier than a lonely winter. not having anyone, you know, going through stuff alone, becoming your own son. What I really like now that I'm thinking of is that there is this major thing occurring, and this companion is a witness. We might make something of a prompt with that. It's hard not to reach out and block his visions like a mother might shield her child from the movie's worst monster. Just these 3 stanzas really, I feel like, are the core of this poem. I'm sorry, that is my cat having the zoomies in the background. I feel like it's also a simultaneous witnessing between the two of them. It's not one or the other, it's a mutual witnessing. The cat looks out the window with expectations unmet. No snow flurries to chase with his mind. No sign of a God worth praising. I just really love this poem. There is nothing scarier than a lonely winter, no justification for being asked to become your own son. It is currently winter here. If you live in the Northern Hemisphere, it is winter. I live in Kentucky. Winters here are, for me, can be depressing. And at times lonely, just very lonely internally. I feel like winter is that time of the year where there's a lot of turning into the self, just reflecting, which a lot of people are like, oh, new year, new XYZ, and I'm like, no, we are very in the middle of some kind of metamorphosis here. We're not starting anything new, to be honest. I mean, kind of, but it's not happening at this moment. And I guess that want to shield, that need to shield, the desire to shield little companion from what he's witnessing is that fear of scaring off or shame, the unknown. Like I said, I love this poem. There's a reason it was on my list of favorites from this book. I could go on and on and on, but for today, for these poems in this book, I will stop. There is always more. Always more. But before I go, I would like to leave you with some prompts. So the first prompt I have for you is inspired by The Vulture Speaks. In this prompt, you will embody the unspeaking, right from the point of view of a plant, an animal, an inanimate object, a natural element like water, air. What is important for us to know? What would you / it say? The second is inspired by companion, and this one is about embodying the witness. Right from the point of view of witness, what do you see? What do you hear, think, and feel? What are we witnessing? And do we get to actually know? What do you want the recipient to know or learn? And then just as an added, a little bonus prompt, this is a prompt of more technical. It's a technical prompt. So for that one, I would like you to play with sentence spacing. So not like line spacing, right? Like how much space is in between each line in a stanza. I want you to play with the spacing within a line or within a sentence. Let the breath inform where you make your breaks. Is it between words? Is it within the word? Are your letters all spaced out in words here and there? You know, have fun with it. Have fun, explore, and let me know what you come up with in the comments. This wraps up the first video on Micaela Walley's Cut the Lights. Thanks, y'all. Have a good night.